And welcome back to part 46 of Neptunia VIIR, where today, as we enter the core to try and see if we can get to, I guess, the physical piece of Uzume, we have to go through yet another Digispace dungeon. So this is the hard dimension. Actually, the sensor is further inside, it may be a little past this area. So we have another, the Dream Pass area they call this one. And this one, like as I said before, each one's more maze-like than the last, so this one's a lot more of a maze, but you can get an upgrade to Uzume's CPU form through this dungeon, so that's a good plus, because her CPU form I don't think has had a single upgrade since Act 1.
Surprise attack success! What shall I do? Now I'll do my best.
And we have quite a plethora of new enemies in here as well. Most of them are zero dimension normals, like you don't get many other commonalities, but it's all like the big monsters just recolored, which is something that this whole series does. It's a very old school JRPG thing, that it's a recolored version of an enemy, so it must mean it's stronger. But you also get some really good armor pieces here, like the Celestia bangle, which the Celestia, as the thing is where the heck did Celestia go? Isn't it obvious we don't have a linear canonical storyline, you guys? Neptune. Celestia is where the goddesses lived in the super dimension version of this game, of this universe, I mean. So in the original Celestia was where all the goddesses came from, and in the second game onwards we went to hyperdimension. Celestia ceased to exist, but they still reference it on occasion, like with that bangle, and it's like, well, where'd it go? I'd be curious to see if they could find a way to re-include Celestia, but I'm not sure how they would. The way they've written and worked the story of hyperdimension, I don't think there's really a place for Celestia anymore. I say it'd be nice, but I wouldn't lose sleep over it. Like, there's a reason why I didn't mention it once for like most of this playthrough, and I didn't mention it at all last part when I was talking about my grand plan for what I'd love to be the 5th game to be. Like, I don't think Celestia is really necessary, especially because they kind of, although it was an Idea Factory, it was GJRPG or GRPG or whatever they call themselves, the company that made Death End Request. They kind of had their own swing at the idea of having this Sky Kingdom, because that's how Celestia was. It's a bunch of floating islands in the sky, all being connected by either rainbow bridges or portals. And it's the only game to have that locale. Like I mentioned before, that like every single location in the game, like I've made clear mention what ones are new to the 4th game and what ones are returning from the 2nd and 3rd. Celestia is the only one to never return after its original debut, because there isn't a Celestia. Which was a shame, because I'd love to see a HD, well, PS4 level HD version of Celestia. To see how they clean it up, because some of the ways they've cleaned up some of the dungeons, or dungeon layouts throughout this has been really cool. Also, the Elemental Shield, great magical, but you completely give up physical its physical defense bonus. So I hope it's a worthy compromise. So that's why I put it on Bland, because Bland's physical defense is so insanely high. Sacrificing a little bit of it isn't that bad. And feel free to use the map as much as you can. Remember, it's left on the D-pad to bring it up. This place is annoying to find your way through. Like, it's not like an obnoxious maze. Like, you will just stumble your way through anyway, but it's still annoying enough. At least the music's nice, as we're about to interrupt it and fight these enemies.
This is pretty efficient. What shall I
What ones are these ones? The pink ones? Oh, magical. Okay. The magical ones I don't think can heal themselves. It's just that their aggressive magic is more powerful. Well, I think the last one that we encountered that could heal themselves was the Numb Doggo. And you can see right now I'm really wishing Blan had a group attack, which is why I'm just going, you know what, stuff it. I want to take both out in one go. To be fair, I think I think it's called Heartbreak is a EXE that I've completely forgot to get for her. I think that hits a whole group.
You've let your guard down.
Or can hit a group, I mean. Oh, we got a quest defeated for that. I wonder if the quest was to do with the scouts coming home, though. Because that's one of the things I'll look forward to when you go to the older ones. In the older ones, you didn't have scouts, you instead had something called Stella's, like, tower, I think it was. Or, like, they had the Neptral tower in the second game, and then you had Stella's tower in the third one. And it was that you sent Stella, this little character, on these missions to climb the tower, and the higher up she could get before you get her to return, the better loot she'd get. But if she got defeated in battle on her climb, you'd just get sent straight back to the start. So you had to, it was a risk versus reward of like, well, how far do you want to send her before you get her to come back? And eventually you could get better equipment and whatnot to help get her further, to eventually climb the 1,000 floors of the tower. Actually, I think it was more than 1,000. I think it was like 1,600 or something like that. It was a really high number.
Now I'll do my best.
But there was a free DLC for the third game that kind of made it null and void. Well, I'm pretty sure it was free. Where if you got it, they made it so Stella wouldn't lose anything if she lost in the dungeon. She would just leave it when she goes to fail, kind of thing. So then it kind of defeated the point, because you could just always get her to try and go as far as humanly possible, no matter what. And she would just get as far as she can and get defeated, but then return with all the equipment she's got, so you just re-equip the equipment and then carry on. Hey Umio, who are these guys who are doing the grassroots stuff with me before I was sealed? I apologize, Uzume. I have no recollection of that, so I cannot answer you. I have memories of hatching from my egg and being a fry, but I'm sorry. Oh, it's nothing you need to apologize for, I was just wondering. No matter who you are, you're here by my side, and that's more than enough. Oh, that's sweet. I think it's just because they know this dungeon is a little lengthier, and I guess they gathered that the fact that people playing it would probably be a bit tired of the blue Digispace dungeons by now. Like, don't get me wrong, it makes sense for Heart Dimension. Like, you've seen how Heart Dimension looks. There isn't going to be physical structural buildings, there's going to be just loose space being weird. So it makes sense, it's just, it doesn't make it any less... It doesn't make it any more interesting, I guess. Any less exciting. And you can see I'm desperately trying to make the most of my sprint and time it, but I don't really think it makes that much of a difference how you use your sprint. Like, I don't think there's any slow way of using it other than maybe letting it completely run out, and so you have to wait for it to completely charge the sprint again. Like, there is an unlockable that we hopefully will get in post-game. I say hopefully because I haven't got it yet. There's one unlockable you can get which is unlimited sprint. Which is odd because when you get unlimited sprint, the bar still appears, the bar just doesn't move. And it's like, well, you might as well just get rid of the bar at this point. When I say that, I think FF15 did the same thing. If you got unlimited sprint for Noctis, it would still show the bar when you went to sprint if you had the bar turned on. But it's not usually wise to get unlimited sprint in FF15 because of the speed boost you get if you tap the sprint again just as it's about to run out. Like, you lose that, and so you end up going just that tiny bit slower even though you've technically got unlimited sprint. Well, so I wish more games did that. If you're going to make it so you're going to have a sprint meter, make a little mini game out of it where if you tap the sprint button again just before it finishes, or tap a button just before it finishes, you get a complete refill and like a little boost out of it. Because that was a really neat little thing to carry on doing in FF15. Whereas in this one, I'm just letting go of it every now and then, and hoping that I'm taking the fastest path I can, as we get another piece of the blue cast. With Uzume's design being a reference to the Dreamcast, like, the difference between the orange cast and the blue cast is the difference between the American and European box colour for the Dreamcast, so it being orange in the US and blue in Europe. Which is an odd choice on Sega's part, but I've never really questioned it. I was quite happy with my blue Dreamcast when I was younger. As I think we enter our cutscene. We finally get to the end of this place, 9 minutes later.
Big Nepsy? What's that giant broken share crystal all the way over there?
That's the crystallization of the share energy that was stored within Uzume's body when she was sealed away.
You guys probably don't know, but all the share crystals scattered around the world are shards of this thing.
Krusty?
Yo, what's up?
I see. That's why they were scattered in so many places.
That's why Uzume never died. Even though the world forgot her, she still had all the share energy to draw from.
Then, If we use that thing right...
If you're here, Krusty, I bet you were sent to get in our way.
Bingo. But man, she's a real slave driver. Even though I'm fine just with recording history, she really pushes me around. If she's so frickin' worried about this thing, then she should just stay here and protect it herself. Don't you guys think so too?
Krusty, you can't keep doing this. Stop helping Kurome and Kokuboshi. Both dimensions are gonna be destroyed.
Even if you tell me that now. You've read me, so you know too, right? You know how many beginning and ends of worlds I've recorded up until now. Also, I don't have a damn clue about what's going on because you put me in that stupid little specimen book of yours.
Of course I did. It'd be fine if you were just recording history, but it's absolutely wrong to muck it up just to make things interesting. Now that I know that, I really can't let you out.
Why, you were always saying my ability in dimension hopping was too fun to let me go, but that's how you really feel, isn't it?
That's not true at all.
You're way too frickin' obvious. Now that I think about it, you sealing me away and sabotaging Affymax, you were just pretending to be a ditz about it.
What could you possibly be talking about?
Damn it all! You're playing the part of the clown this whole time!
I can't believe you. You hadn't caught on? She's happy-go-lucky and always spouts nonsensical meta-jokes, but Neptune's always...
Hold it!
Pipe down! We're not even talking to you. Why are you yelling over there like an asshole?
I'm the protagonist of this game, and we're fairly close to the climax, aren't we? But then, why is the bigger me standing out more than I am? Hasn't my narrative been super weak since being in Heart Dimension? I got beat, captured, even though I was in next form. I've barely had screen time. And just when I got saved and the party split, I thought I was the main of the story. Nope, it's all about Uzume and bigger me. This is protagonist fraud at this point. I'll take this to court, I'll sue, and I'll win.
Imagine that
Calm
outburst
down,
of
Nep.
Neptune as
You
her
were the
entire
protagonist for
character.
the
That's the third Neptunia game.
Part of the story.
She's right. Since you're the protagonist, you should be as tolerant as a goddess, or at least a mother.
But even though I'm the protag and face of this series, I get the cold shoulder in terms of face time and ability. And...
It seems Nepsi might fall again.
I don't have the confidence to pull her out of the whirlpool of delusion this time.
Ah, frickin' damn it! What the hell is wrong with all of you? Point is, I finally have a chance to record some interesting history. I'm not gonna let you assholes get in the way. Come, Dark White!
A dark CPU now is nothing. No matter how much you power him up, we have the sharing field.
That's right. We don't have to fear this thing when Uzume's with us.
Indeed. Wait.
What's wrong, Vert?
Oh, it's just that dark CPU. For some reason, it seems to have a smaller chest than the one created from my power.
What?
Is it possibly because Blonde's power was used as a base? To think she'd be copied even there.
But it's bigger than Blonde's. They seem to have added some shape and volume. Blonde's is just as flat as a plank. It'd look pretty stick thin if it were just as flat, too, so maybe they gave it more volume. Or possibly Kurome felt pity for Blonde's pathetic state and has shown some mercy towards her dark CPU minions.
Ah! I won't be made a fool of, you bastards! That Kurome asshole, too! I'm getting pissed off just looking at it! Uzume, the sharing field! Hurry it up! Right.
Blonde's scary.
What'd you say?
so scared she's completely fumbling her words.
Well, that's the normal response when you're not used to, blonde.
And now we begin the last normal giant fight. This isn't the last giant fight full stop, but after this one they are going to be mixing up the formula again. But this one, similar to the last two, is she's got a big weapon on one arm and some armor plates elsewhere. Destroy the big weapon and then worry about the armor plates if you can. And once again, if you get hit by the weapon enough, the game will warn you on it. But look at that thing, that's a powerful weapon just by looking at it. Like, I think that's the coolest. Like, as much as they mock Dark White's design, I think Dark White's probably got the coolest design of the giants. Like, although their designs are pretty similar, it's just a colour scheme and weapon difference, I'd still say that she's got the coolest one of the lot. And that's not me being biased towards Blanc, I'm being serious, her weapon's really cool. It's not just a sword. Like, when the transform into the next form finishes its animation, you'll get a good look.
Now, let's finish this beautifully.
God, yeah, look at that thing. But the strategy is the same as it was in the previous one. Destroy the weapon, destroy the armor plate, and then watch it slowly start to break down. Oh, and here we are getting told again. Attacks from that axe are rather dangerous. Is there any other way to destroy it? I love this game, but is it really necessary to tell us after the first time? If for whatever reason they bring giant fights back in the next game, I hope they don't do that. I've got a feeling they might not though. Like, as much as I'd like to, I'm not sure how they would write them in a 5th game, because they only exist here because of Kurome making them. So I'm not sure how, like, if they have a different villain in, it's like, what, is this villain also going to have the ability to make giants? But then wouldn't that completely devalue Kurome's abilities? This is also the last one to only have 6 platforms for you to jump between. The next one is going to up the amount of platforms, so you're going to have to make people jump across more platforms to try and get you to circle round. And it's also the last time we're listening to Encounter of Destiny, this amazing boss theme that plays against all the giant fights except the next 2. I'll never not love this boss theme. Nomura Uematsu is a legend, he always will be. It is me trying to testing it, like going through it, saying, oh, well, what could I use? It probably would have been worth not having Neptune jump next to Noir there. It might have been worth it just because then they're on separate platforms. If you can avoid having people on on the same platform, do it, because otherwise more than one person is getting attacked. But I should have really just kept Neptune on that platform on her own and then shuffled her along to where Noir is after Noir's moved further up. But I'm also going to get stat multiplier up because of how much of a damage boost it is. God. That attack where it spins and hits every single platform is probably the biggest reason why you want to destroy that axe as soon as you can. But you can see, my first impression, or my first idea, was to see if I can try and destroy some of the weaponry and armor before using the next form attacks, just so then I can get maximum damage out of because of the lowered defense. Because I didn't want this fight to take forever. Like, I was kind of tired of boss fights taking forever in Act 3 at this point. And that's kind of why I brought everyone in their next forms again. I didn't mix it up and bring Uzume or something, even though I probably should have, because now we've had just the main 4 in the party for quite a while.
Neptune, I'll leave the rest to you. This is the power of Hyperdimension's next-gen CPUs.
On the plus side, after this part, we get the rest of the party back together. Because this is supposed to be going on alongside when the CPU candidates in Gold 3rd went to try and stop the console getting taken and then tried to take down the other CPU. The other dark CPU, I mean. Which is why, like, right at the end when Kurome was about to attack us, suddenly she was like, why can't I use my powers? It's because this fight was happening at the same time.
Who wants to get defeated?
And that's why Kara is kind of taking up the position of antagonist for this section, whilst Kurome was in hyperdimension, having to deal with the CPU candidates.
Let's end this. Delta slash.
So I keep on just losing myself to listening to the music. The thing that plays, so I said Encounter of Destiny, it's called. If you haven't listened to it and looked it up, please do so. I can't recommend it enough. It's just such a fun track. It's such a powerful track. Like, it really, at least to me, it showed how far Neptunia had come through the main series because of how amazing this game's soundtrack is. Like, it's like the quality of the soundtrack I feel matches the quality of the games. And the first game's soundtrack was alright, but each game's soundtrack after that's got better and better. And I share that opinion with the games as well. As much as I have my issues with Neptune's personality in the third game as a whole is better than the second. And the second game, as much as I have it as its holes in the story, is better than the original. And this game just dominates a lot because I really don't have that many issues with this game. And I've really had a fun time going back through this. Even if we are beyond the halfway point of Act 3 now. Like I said, Act 3 isn't actually that big. It's about as big as Act 1. It just has more story beats. Which is why these parts are longer, because I have to fit in all the cutscenes. But in terms of actual content of what you're going through, it's around the same as Act 1.
My turn.
But the thing is, if you if you're not getting the true ending, like if you're playing normal V2 and you didn't view the dream sequences, the next part is actually the last part of the story for you. I made sure that the next part ends where the bad ending ends, kind of thing, and then it carries on beyond that afterwards. If you're going for the true ending, that is. So, assuming that nothing interrupts it, in tomorrow's part, when I get round to it, that will be covering the bad ending. And thankfully this Dark White's nearly down now, because I'm already running out of things to talk about in these really long boss fights. Thankfully this is the last boss fight that I feel like I don't know what I'm talking about with. Like, in terms of, like, I don't know what to talk about. Like, because after this, all the boss fights that come up are so plot focused that I can at least talk about the story that's going on while I'm doing it. Whilst in this one, what can I do? Mention that, mention the same joke that Vert did about the chest size of Dark White. No, that joke's already been made by the game.
Eat this.
God, look how much damage that did. No, I wish I was doing that kind of damage with some of the earlier bosses in this act. And it's also great, like, especially because I've been looking back on the footage like when I first started Act 1. Keep in mind, when we started Act 1, the maximum amount of AP we could have was 6. Now look at how much everyone just regenerates on a whim. Most people get about 8 or 9 points per turn. And they're capped at like 20 or 21. That kind of, like, subtle but constant growth throughout the game is something I've always appreciated with it. Because at 15 AP and there's still room for more. Like, I think, like, Neptune caps at like 20 right now. And it can keep on going. Like, you can get it as high as like 31, 32 with the right equipment as well. Like, you can get enough to do Dimensional Slice, get her up to next form, and then attack once again. Kind of thing. And that's ridiculous, but that's still really cool. But it's still down to how devoted you are to getting those ability points going up. Like, through the main adventure, you'll notice your max number go up anyway, because as certain plot points go up, it ups your maximum number. Like, if you somehow don't have enough to use the next form attacks, it will give you enough to use the next form attacks when you unlock them, kind of thing. But you should constantly be growing in how many AP points you have available to you as the game goes on. With your armor equipment being the biggest source of what changes it. Ow, ow.
I choose you.
Come on, what am I going to do past me? To be fair, I could probably end the fight now with one more next attack. But I'm deciding to go with In-Between Spear instead. If I do a next form EXE, I should probably take it. That's it. I kind of want them to make EXE a separate bar in the 5th game again. I don't want them to like I've mentioned before that I would absolutely love if they went back to the old formula after this game. But I like how this game remixed and changed up the formula of how the gameplay works. But I would be quite happy if they went back to how the old one functioned as well for the next game. But it's more that I just want them to bring back the EXE bar. Or do what the 3rd game did at least, and make it so your EXE and SP are tied to each other. And so your SP bar is split into 4 chunks. So each time it goes up by a quarter, it counts as 1 EXE. Oh god, I can see the brain functions of previous me. I think I wanted to end this with Guardian Force. But like, every other SP attack just doesn't do the damage that the next form attacks do. But it's hard to recommend using anything other than there we go. Then the next form attacks, because this should kill. I think either that or get insanely close to doing so. No, I think it'll just barely survive. No, it won't. No, it won't. As soon as I saw that go past the halfway point of its last health bar, I was like, no. When that laser comes down, that'll wreck it.
I struggled on purpose to make things more interesting.
Right, but of course.
Level up.
Well, anyway, we've got another relatively chunky cutscene coming up. So next time on Neptunia VIIR, we'll be entering the final act, like the final piece of this game. The last dungeon, well, the last proper dungeon, I should say, and the final boss, assuming you're going for the bad ending. But until then, you guys take care.
Serves you freaking right.
Oh, this is just a sad sight, Lon.
No frickin' way. How could the Dark CPU be defeated so easily?
Gotcha! Krar has been defeated.
No, stop! Let me out! Let me out, damn it!
Now then, there are no more obstacles in our way. Shall we try purifying this area?
That may be good. We've gotten pretty deep inside. It should be effective.
Then, from here on, leave everything to the original main character. Lend me your powers, everyone.
Right. Of course.
Indeed.
Vert, Lan, Noir, send all the share energy you possess to me. Everyone else, pray.
Nothing's happening?
It's no use. I felt some reaction, but our share energy was quickly countered, then erased by all of this negative energy.
Oh, that totally sucks!
It's too early to be discouraged. It was shown to have some effect after all. We must overcome this lack of energy issue next.
Then perhaps it's best to meet up with Nepgear's group and revise our plan.